Welcome to today's video where we're going to be looking at the total cost to sell a Pokemon card on eBay. So if you're looking to do so and are not quite sure at the kind of prices that you need to sell at in order to make a profit, then this will be for you. Now it's a question I get quite a lot and it's understandable with all those different costs involved. So I would just like to break it down and we're going to look at all of the costs that you will need to consider, and we'll look at an example to show you what kind of money you can make on each sale. So if you find this video useful, then please hit the like button and do subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell and you'll be alerted on when I release new videos just like this. So first and foremost, let's look at all of the different costs that you will need to consider. And we can break that down into three different categories. Your necessary costs, which can't be avoided. Your possible costs, so that can depend and range on different people in different contexts. And then there's some other costs that you might need to consider as well. So first and foremost, your necessary costs. So these are going to be your postage, supplies and any fees that are associated with that. So that's going to be the likes of your envelopes, it may be sleeves and top loaders. Now these are generally recommended for cards that you are in great condition or near mint condition and that you want to protect during the postage process. Not all cards may require these, but it is recommended. As a good seller, you do want to do that. And I've also found when selling cards that if you include pictures of cards in sleeves and top loaders and include that in the title, then you can actually command a higher price because buyers know that you've taken care of the card and they're going to receive it in good condition. The second cost to consider is the final value fee. Now that's going to be 10% of the final sales fee, and that's because we're likely selling Pokemon cards in the collectible category. When you add your category for your on your product listing, it should do so by default. But when you start going through the different filter options and you select Pokemon and the collectibles, that's automatically applied. And that's where you want to be listing your item to make sure you get as many eyes on the listing and you do sell. Third necessary cost is the payment processing fee. Now this has changed somewhat recently ever since eBay released their managed payment system. So it's now at 2.35%, whereas if you use PayPal to accept payments, that is, and what we've been using up until very recently, well, that is 2.9% of the order, as well as 30 cents or 30 pence per transaction. And that leads me on to this point. This video is going to cover both the UK and US. You might be able to tell from my accent I am from the UK, but having looked at all of the data, and I've looked at different postal services and just the kind of economies and Amazon UK and Amazon.com, the fees are actually quite similar, which is quite interesting. But we'll break that down further in our example on the next slide, so keep on watching. Now the second category is the possible costs. Now this is not going to be the same for everyone. If you're flipping items, then you may actually have costs involved with sourcing the card itself, and you might be buying cards, single cards maybe off eBay, or you may be even buying bulk lots. The reason why this is possible is, of course, you may be selling from your own collection. Now the other cost to consider, now these may not apply to you, or they may be something that you want to bear in mind to kind of improve your sales on the platform, or just reduce your entire costs in general. You've got store subscription fees, and I've included on the right there, that's a screenshot from the eBay fees page, and I'll drop that link in the description below. And it's a great article. It provides a high level overview of all the different fees that you have to pay and what the different store subscriptions provide. But in essence, if you're just getting started out, a starter or a basic would be recommended. I'm actually on a basic, and you can see this is in dollars, but I believe in the UK it's very, very similar price. I think I pay £20 a month. You know, if you're just getting started, a starter might suffice, but you will probably want to upgrade to a basic in time as you kind of start selling more often. Then you have insertion fees. May not apply if you have your store subscription, but if you're a new seller, an individual account, and you don't have a store subscription, then these are going to be around 35 cents or 35 pence per listing. And when I've mentioned beyond limit as well, so each of the different store subscriptions, you have a certain amount of listings you can put up, and if you go beyond that, then you'll have to pay this fee as well. Now there's also listing upgrade fees, and these are if you want to include certain you know, if you're doing an auction, for instance, and you want to put a reserve, I think there's a fee there involved. And there's also things like if you want to include, you have your title listing on your listing, but you also can add, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's like a secondary title listing. If you remember what that is, please drop that in the comment section below, because I'm really struggling to remember what that's called right now, and I don't want to take up much more time. So on that topic, now the next one is promoted listing fees, and this essentially are if you want to promote your item to more people, and that will increase your chances of sales. And this is set by you. You don't have to do it. I would recommend it. Through testing, I sell a lot more by putting on my cards on promoted listings, and you can set this from anywhere between 1 and probably 80%. Obviously, you wouldn't want to do 80%; you wouldn't make any money. And if you look at the kind of industry average, it's usually set at around 5%. So that will be taken from the final sales fee as well. Now let's look at an example. So we've got a Mewtwo here, currently selling for around £10 in the UK. But in the case of this example, we're going to assume it's sold for $10 as well. We've put it up and we've sold it for £10 or $10. Now on the left-hand side, you can see how we work out the costs against those different categories and what you can expect to make. So the first one, we're going to be assuming that the card's already in our collection, so it's free if you like. It hasn't cost us anything to source. Now the postage supplies, now again this is going to differ depending on how many you buy and where you buy them from, but having spoken to many different sellers and looked at the various different marketplaces, you can generally get postage supplies for around 25 cents, 25p to a pound and $1. So 0.25 to 1, same in the US, same in the UK. Now, postage supplies will be things like envelopes, sellotape, maybe even cardboard boxes. Although you can always reuse that if you'll likely be able to find recycling around in your area. You might be able to reuse Amazon boxes, etc. I wouldn't be paying for cardboard, and that can also be postage supplies. It could also be you could include top loaders in there if you wanted, although they'll just be kind of general. You kind of want to buy them anyway just to look after your cards. Then you've got the postage itself. So I looked into, I think the highest or the most widely used US supplier of the postal services is USPS. Here in the UK it's the Royal Mail, and for a domestic letter or envelope you're looking at around 55 cents in the States, and in the UK I think it's around 65p for a second class. So yeah, that's not too bad. Then we've got a final value fee. So if we're selling it at £10, that's 10%, so that's £1 or $1, same thing. And then we've got a payment processing fee here at 2.35. We're assuming we're using eBay managed payments. Now the source on the card was 0, so that would make a profit of £7.22 on a $10 or £10 sale. Now I didn't include the total costs here, but quick maths, we are looking at around £2.78 in costs. £2.78 in costs. The second example here is where we're going through the same process, but we're sourcing the card. So let's assume we're buying the card, say off eBay, for £5, buying it at £5, selling it for £10. Well, with all of the other costs involved, we're only going to be making a profit of $1.77 or £1.77. Now, you know, that might not seem like a lot, but if you're doing that on 10 cards, you know, it soon starts to rack up, and it's not unrealistic to be selling 10 to 20 cards a day. And also you have to consider that if you're selling that kind of quantity of cards, then you can start buying more, you know, bulk postage supplies, and the costs can start hedging down. Now, one thing to consider here is with the profit, for all three boxes here, on the profit, I have assumed the highest possible cost. So that's assuming that your postage supplies cost you a dollar or a pound, and your postage costs you a dollar or a pound. So this is kind of worst case scenario for your profit. Now, the bottom table here, we have sourced the card for $7.50 or £7.50, and we've only managed to sell it for $10 or £10. Now, as you can see, you're in the negative. You would not be making any money, you'd actually be losing money. So really important that we've worked through this and done this maths. As I say, we've used the high end for the costs, so if it was the lower end, you would be looking at, you know, a minor profit, or you'd be breaking even. Generally not worth your time. So these are just some examples to consider. Of course, it will depend on the card you're selling, and, you know, sales prices will vary dramatically depending on the card, the condition, etc. But it's the same kind of process. So if I were you, I would kind of create a simple eBay template in Excel, or if you're using a Mac, you can use their equivalent if you've got that on your Mac. But you want to just use a kind of spreadsheet tool, and you just want to plug in these kind of numbers so you can work out your kind of profit and track it, so then you know what you're making, and you can also see if it's worth your time. So just some final conclusions just from this kind of process and my experiences on this. So to make a profit from flipping Pokemon cards, you need to allow an extra 25% for costs. So, or otherwise you will be making a loss or breaking even, as I've just kind of talked through. Buying postage supplies and stamps are some of the best ways to increase your profit margins per order, and I've missed out a word there. What I meant to put was in bulk. So what you want to be doing, if you can afford it, is buying, you know, you want to be sourcing those in advance, and you want to be just doing all you can to reduce your postage costs, because they can start to add up. And you don't want to be going to certain shops. You want to be shopping from you want to be looking for places where you can buy them, possibly off eBay, maybe off Amazon, but you want to be looking for places where you can source them as cheaply as possible. Now, the next conclusion is that there are potentially some additional costs that you may actually want to consider taking on. So promoted listings are a prime example of this, as they can boost your sales. If you do use promoted listings, just be sure to offset the costs in your pricing. So don't just whack a 5% on and hope that you're going to make profit. That can literally make all the difference. If you are using promoted listings, I would simply add that onto your price. Getting on a store subscription is a great way to save on insertion fees, so you don't pay that 35 cents, 35p for each listing. And also look out for different offers and promotional offers that eBay put out. I think every couple of weekends they put a free to insert offer out there. It's frustrating, but you just need to go and click activate this offer. It's very annoying, but you know that can save you a little bit on your weekend sales when, you know, people are most active on the platform and buying. Now, the last point is, you know, this is something I've learned through my experience. So you want to boost your monthly limits of what you can sell, and this is really ideal and useful when you're scaling your store. So once you start beginning selling and you start getting positive feedback, be sure to reach out to eBay support to get your limits increased, and that will save you those insertion fees and make sure that you make as much money from your sales as possible. So I hope this video was useful. If it was, hit the like button, drop some comments down below, any questions you have, any feedback or thoughts on what I've said here today, and do subscribe to the channel. Hit the bell notification to be alerted of when I release new videos like this, and I hope you have an excellent day.